The destruction of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station occurred on the night of June 6, 2023 during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As a result of the destruction of the dam in the Kherson region, 14 settlements with a population of about 16,000 people on the right bank of the Dnieper were flooded, and 14 settlements with a population of about 22,000 people on the left bank of the Dnieper, occupied by Russia. The flooding killed at least 17 people. Every day new human victims emerge in the water. A more accurate number of civilians in the Kherson region will be established after the waters recede. Great damage has been done to the environment and agriculture. Tons of different types of fish perished, crop fields were flooded. The damage from the death of bioresources the government of Ukraine estimated about $285 million. Russian fascists accuse Ukraine of destroying the dam. The Kremlin claims that the Ukrainians blew up the dam with artillery shelling, which would be extremely difficult and unrealistic. The Kakhovka HPP was mined by the Russians last summer, and there is evidence of this. In addition, the dam has been under Russian control all this time. From the first days of the war until then. Until it was broken through, and the risk of its undermining was discussed for a long time by the entire world community. During the Ukrainian offensive last year on November 11, an explosion occurred on the dam, but the structure remained structurally intact. The Kakhovka Dam was built during the Soviet Union and its reliability was calculated so that it had to withstand an external nuclear strike. But, the explosives planted by the Russians were located inside the hydroelectric station, for its entire length. She couldn't handle the explosion. In addition, a day before the explosion, a critical water level was deliberately accumulated. Satellite images show that the road that runs along it was destroyed 3 or 4 days earlier, but the dam was intact. The explosion of the Kakhovka Dam will have far-reaching and long-term consequences for Ukraine and the whole world. Some of the most fertile lands have been emptied, the agricultural sector of Ukraine will suffer greatly, people will leave these territories due to lack of jobs, climate change and the environment. However, from an operational point of view, there are serious consequences for both sides. Russia's main goal was to delay the Ukrainian counteroffensive and make it difficult for the Ukrainian army to land across the Dnieper. The Kremlin is counting on the fact that even after the water level drops, mud and swamps will make this area impassable for Ukrainian heavy equipment. This allowed Moscow to shorten the front line and strengthen the Zaporozhye direction, by excluding the direction of Kherson. However, most of the wetlands are on the left bank of the river, occupied by Russia. Thus, the Kremlin appears to have been willing to destroy the dam at the cost of losing its fortifications in Kherson and the minefields, most of which were flooded or washed away. Now, Russia has effectively sealed the fate of Crimea by cutting off its water supply. Previously, the Crimean Canal took water from the Kakhovka reservoir, but after a breakthrough, the water began to flow in the opposite direction. Thus the Kremlin is delaying Ukrainian counteroffensive, but at a huge cost. He is threatened not only by the ecological, but also by the potentially strategic loss of the Crimea and the entire left bank of the Dnieper. Estimates of how long the Kherson region will remain impassable range from a few weeks to a few months. However, the consequences of the dam explosion will be measured in decades and could be catastrophic for the Kremlin. Moscow's cold calculation could also lead to the deprivation of Ukraine of one of the most important infrastructure facilities for many years until Russian troops are withdrawn. On the other hand, in this context, the risks for the Zaporozhye NPP also increase. The water level for cooling the ZNPP has fallen sharply. On the other hand, the catastrophe may put pressure and motivate the West to further strengthen the offensive capabilities of Kiev. Shortly after this event, the commander of the Joint Armed Forces of Ukraine, Sergei Nev, announced that the explosion of the dam in Kakhovka would not interfere with the advance of Ukrainian troops. The command provided for such steps of the invaders. The scale of the catastrophe, after the destruction of the dam at the Kakhovskaya hydroelectric power station, is becoming clear only now. Already 400 people are missing. On both sides of the Dnieper, 1,000 houses are flooded. Officially 13 people died, but this figure is expected to rise. Thousands of people have already been evacuated. The removal of people in the territories under the control of Ukraine is complicated by regular shelling from the Russian side. Affected civilians say that the water level rose very quickly. The woman says, "We live on the edge of the village next to the water. I just came home and saw that my entire garden was flooded. We began to collect our things, took clothes, documents, everything that we had time to take. Because the water was rising very fast. Parts of residential buildings, animals and various garbage began to float on the beaches of Odessa. The water in the Black Sea exceeds all sanitary standards. On the land occupied by Russia, thousands of people are waiting for evacuation, while volunteers cannot get into the city. No one is allowed to enter Oleski at the checkpoint without a permit to the place of flooding. You can only get on the water, but the Russians shoot such boats with people. The American Institute for the Study of War indicates the ratio of information in the media space about the causes of the disaster speaks in favor of the fact that the Russians deliberately damaged dam. He refers to several independent sources. They reported seismic data indicating an explosion on June 6 at 2:54 local time in the area of the hydroelectric power station. Also, a White House employee said that American spy satellites with infrared sensors detected an explosion at the dam, and the Wall Street Journal cited the opinion of a number of engineers and munitions experts who also believe the disaster was caused by explosions in several of the structure's most vulnerable areas. Experts point out that the dam could be destroyed by an explosion from the inside. Putin, only on the fourth day after the dam burst, ordered the creation of a commission to deal with the consequences of the disaster. Now Putin is threatening to blow up the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and the Crimean chemical plant Titan. Who else doubts that Putin is a universal evil? Why does Ukraine still not receive the necessary weapons and aircraft in a timely manner? Who is prolonging the war and giving Putin the opportunity to circumvent sanctions and gather new forces? Do you know the answers to these questions? I don't know. You can write your thoughts in the comments below this video. We believe in God. We help the Ukrainian army. Glory to Ukraine. You can make your donation to the injured Ukrainian soldiers, people and animals at the link under the video or on the website Donations in UA.